So in this video, I want to talk about some of my projects from the last decade that I've either abandoned or just kind of stopped working on. And I thought it would be fun because I make a lot of things and some of the things see the light of day, but most don't. And so it would be fun to just look through the things that I made that didn't make the cut or that I decided not to pursue any further. So that's what we're going to do. The latest project that I worked on and abandoned was a time reporting system. The idea that I had was that I thought it would be cool if I could keep a track of how much time I'm spending on different activities. Now, as a solo entrepreneur, you might be doing consulting work, you might be doing product development work, you might be doing educational work or like research, that kind of thing. And understanding your billable hours versus non-billable hours and understanding how much money you're making from your products divided by the amount of hours spent on it to understand your hourly wage. That could be kind of cool. A lot of the other apps out there that I've found are mostly geared towards organizations. But what I wanted to create was an app for solopreneurs specifically, or very small team. So that way I could get an idea of what I was spending time on. Was it profitable or not profitable? Was I making the right priorities or not? And the app kind of works. I mean, a lot of the functionality is there. You can create projects, you can report time, you can set billable and non-billable hours. But I think the reason that I stopped working on it had more to do with the fact that some of my other projects were just more interesting than that project. And so I decided that, hey, I'm just not going to spend any more time on this. I think I'm done for now. Now for the next one, I want to go back to 2018. So in 2018, it was a very different landscape than we have right now. AI hadn't really kicked off, but people were talking about machine learning, and I was really interested in learning about it too. I had this idea for something called Panda. And the idea that I had was that it would be cool if a user could upload an Excel file or a CSV file or a database of some sort and do machine learning operations on it. So you could select a couple of columns that you wanted to use to predict a value and then a second column where the predicted value is. And you could do that as a service. Now today, that's included in most spreadsheet applications, but back in 2018, it wasn't really a thing yet. Now the problem was that in order to do that, I had to understand how to do all of that machine learning stuff. So what I had to do is I had to learn how to implement all of the machine learning algorithms from scratch, like working with matrices and flipping them and multiplying columns and so on and so forth. And that was really challenging, but eventually I got all of the logic working. I'm going to be honest and say, like, when I looked at this today, I don't exactly remember what everything does, but at some point I did. And it works. You can create a predictive model. You can upload an Excel file, select a bunch of fields that you want to use to predict a value, and then have that value be predicted. After I had implemented that, though, I decided to just scrap the whole project. Not because I didn't believe in it, but because I think I found learning about machine learning more interesting than actually creating a product based on it. And so Panda only made it so far. So about a year or so later, I created a movie recommendation engine. The problem that I wanted to solve was that I wanted to have some kind of application that could give me tips on movies to watch, series to watch, because I was struggling with finding interesting things. So when I started this project, I had no idea how to create a movie recommendation engine, and I realized the first thing that I needed was data. And I remember after a lot of searching, I found a IMDb dataset. And this was a free dataset that I could download and implement in my engine. So I downloaded all of these text files with a whole bunch of titles in them, and I converted it into a SQL database. And then I created a small wrapper around that you could use to type in different parameters and then search for movies and series. And you also get links to like trailers and Wikipedia articles and so on that are automatically generated. And it works. Now I want to be clear, like this was a prototype and it's very rough around the edges, but I thought the concept was pretty cool. I don't remember why exactly I decided to stop working on that project, but I think it had to do with the licensing model for the IMDb dataset. I also have this vague recollection of really struggling with reading the data into the database for some reason. Like there was something that wasn't working that I had to figure out. Another problem that I worked on was that I wanted to create an app that would automatically edit YouTube videos for me. And I didn't get that far. One of the main problems that I was working on was jump cutting. I realized that one of the things that I was doing was removing silences from my videos. So when I'm talking, sometimes there's a natural break between words, and I wanted to have a quick way of getting rid of that by doing an automatic jump cut. Now, at this point, I had no idea how to do that. And bear in mind, all of these projects are before AI took off, so there's no chatbot, there's no Claude, there's no ChatGPT that can help me. I had to just figure it out. And I remember creating this Python script using FFmpeg and some clever sound processing to figure out where there were silences in the clip and then cut those out using FFmpeg. Again, it's when you look at the script, it's really short. And I think like, wow, how much time did I spend on this? But when I went into this, I had no idea how to do a jump cutting. I had no idea how to do video processing. And so I had to learn all of these things. It works though, the script works. So for example, my name is Henrik. I make a lot of things. And this is a jump cut. And it becomes, my name is Henrik. I make a lot of things. And this is a jump cut. The biggest reason why I stopped working on that, I think, was just the fact that it didn't interest me that much. Like, making the jump cutter was fun, but it took so much time to learn everything, and at the end of it all, I was just kind of burnt out on it. So I decided to not pursue it any further. So I also want to talk a little bit about my open source projects. I think I had a period of maybe like 4 or 5 years where I spent a lot of my time learning and creating open source projects as part of that learning process. Now, Jhaystack exists because when I was trying to implement search functionality in an application, I was really frustrated because it was very slow and it didn't allow me to implement it in the way that I wanted to implement it. And I kept thinking like, how hard could it be? So what I did was I bought 2 books. I bought Managing Gigabytes and Introduction to Information Retrieval. And I read those books more than once. And Jhaystack was the attempt of implementing what I had read in those books into code. Now, on top of those books, I remember that I also wanted to implement functionality that was not in those books. Back then, you couldn't really find that much information online on a lot of these topics because they were really advanced. And most information out there was kind of basic. So what I ended up doing for some of the functionality in Jhaystack is I read a lot of scientific articles, which are really difficult to read because most of them are super theoretical and they explain search through the perspective of math. And I remember having this eureka moment when I realized that if I Googled for a lot of the problems in Japanese instead of English, I would get better results, which is great. So there was, for example, this amazing Wikipedia article on bit and bit or, which is an algorithm. I just remember reading that article and being like, oh wow, this is exactly what I needed. And that's how Jhaystack was born. Now, I haven't worked on Jhaystack for quite a while, but I'm very proud of it. Like, I wrote that whole library from scratch, learning everything that I had to learn all by myself. I think that out of all of the software products that I've created or software things, that's one of the ones that I'm the most proud of. Now, around the time when I created Jhaystack, I also got quite interested in games development, and I wanted to learn more about how to develop games. So I created Nimbus. Nimbus had 3 purposes. I wanted to understand how to create games, I wanted to understand how renderers work in a computer, and I wanted to learn more about Java. So I combined all of these 3 problems and created Nimbus. So Nimbus is a fully functioning games engine, and it has a built-in software renderer, which is very non-performant, but it works. And creating Nimbus, I learned quite a lot about how to structure code when you're making a game. And I also learned a lot about some of the fundamental challenges in making a renderer. I don't think that any AAA titles are going to come out of Nimbus anytime soon. And I don't think that I'll ever keep working on it either, for that matter. But I learned quite a lot from Nimbus, and I had a lot of fun making it. Since creating Nimbus, I've also worked on a few other games in my spare time, all of which I've abandoned. Just the other day, I was working on an asteroid game, which I think is promising, but we'll see. I think either way, I think like games are just fun to work on. And if you want to learn how to code, creating a game is a great way of getting started. Now, the last open source project that I want to talk about is Trassel. So Trassel is a graph computing tool. So what Trassel lets you do is it lets you do different computations on graph structures. So if you imagine a network graph where you have nodes that connect to each other left and right, you can use Trassel to more easily compute different values within that graph. You can traverse network graphs from different directions. You can find the shortest paths between two nodes. And you can compute how different nodes fit together and what happens if you remove one node from the graph. You can look at it from a directional perspective, a unidirectional perspective. You can also do things like community detection and computing supercomponents. A lot of it is just algorithms. I think when most people look at the tool, they will just see like the rendering of the graph. But the renderer was actually the last thing that I created, and it was something that I just threw together because I thought it would be fun to also have a renderer. But that was not the main point of the library. I just needed a way to do a lot of different computations on graphs in order to build some of the other things that I wanted to build. Something that I distinctly remember when creating Trassel was watching a whole bunch of YouTube videos in German, even though I don't speak German, because that was the only information that I could find online on how to implement some of these algorithms. So I remember I had a Google Translate on one side and I had this video on the other side. I think that if you wanted to create something like Trassel today, it would probably be a lot easier. But yeah, it was fun. So Trassel was really fun to make, but I don't think that I will work much on it in the future, mostly because I don't have a need for it anymore. And that's Trassel. So obviously I'm quite interested in software, so a lot of the things that I make will be software, but I've also made a lot of other things throughout the years. For example, YouTube channels. In the last 10 or 15 years, I think I've had like 3 or 4 different YouTube channels. I had this idea for a Swedish cooking channel called Sweden Food Fam, and I was going to create a blog to go with it, with a recipe as well. And I even created the first video, but ended up just never posting it. I think I just wasn't happy with it. And then before that, I had a gaming channel. I think this must have been 2015, 2016, something like that. I think I made a total of 5 videos, which were all over an hour long each. And yeah, it never became a thing either. I just decided to not do it anymore. A third idea for a channel that I explored was that I wanted to create courses online for difficult computer science concepts. For example, how does a SQL database work under the hood? When you get down to the ones and zeros, how is it actually implemented? Once you understand those underlying concepts, you also understand, for example, why some things are fast and some things are slow. And you learn a lot about how to think when you're implementing things and you're creating software. I think the main reason for why I didn't pursue that specific one was just because I was too busy with work. But maybe I'll get back to it. Now, if I go back even further in time to like 2010, I had a YouTube channel while living in Japan. So I lived in Japan for a few years, and I created a blog and a YouTube channel when I moved there. And I made a bunch of videos as well, most of which are taken down now. There might be one left, I'm not sure, but most of it is removed. Going through all of these old projects was really fun. And I realized there are so many more projects that I could talk about that I've abandoned throughout the years. And I also realized that I've done quite a few things. I think it's easy to lose track of all the things that you've done because you're always focused on here and now. It's kind of fun to just stop for a second and look at all the things that you've created in the past and think like, oh yeah, I made that and I made this and I did that too. So that was really fun. I also think that like success is an elastic concept. Like today we want to talk about success and failures as something that's binary. But I think for me, all of these projects were successes. Like I've learned something from every single thing that I've created. And I don't think that I would have been able to create some of the projects that I'm selling today if it weren't for the things that I made in the past and all the things that I tried out, all of the projects that I abandoned, because I wouldn't have the skill set that I have today without them. So if there's any takeaway from this video, I think it's that you should just try stuff, like just do stuff. And if you decide to abandon it, then that's completely fine. So what's your personal favorite abandoned project? Tell me in the comments below. And if you want to see more of this, subscribe, like the video. I'll see you in the next one.